So as you guys know, if you've been on my channel for a while and you know me, this is largely, at least in part, it's about neurocomplexity. It's definitely for gifted adults, gifted empaths, especially gifted and creative empaths. And when I first started this channel, I talked a lot more about like neurocomplexity, neurodiversity when I was just like really getting into the topic. And anyway, I just wanted to say a couple new thoughts on this now that I have been, it's summer and I've been spending a bit more time with family, which definitely is a great way to highlight the ways that you might be neurodivergent, especially if the rest of your family is not. And so I think there are like three like obvious or like explicit characteristics that I would say definitely can distinguish from my experience. Whether, not in a diagnostic sense, but of course, I just mean after the fact, it's definitely clear, it's obvious, right? So there's three characteristics that either define, neurodivergent against neurotypical, basically. So number one is obviously the degree of curiosity, the degree of mental, intellectual agency. So I think this seems to be true no matter what kind of blend or flavor of neurodivergence we're looking at. Neurocomplex minds are not just settling for like the descriptions of the way things are, like leaves falling randomly on the ground. Like that is not the way we come across our information. We are like active hounds, like mental detectives, whether it's giftedness or autism, special interests, ADHD, right? It's an active intellectual seeking. And so I actually realized I kind of like blended two of them together because the other part of this is related. And so this is that like neurocomplex people are never going to say something like, it is what it is. Like, that's just the way things are. Like, no. Like I just said, like we are digging into the reasons why. We are digging, especially after the higher order, the higher patterns at work, and beyond patterns though, because that's still very superficial. Like machine learning can like parse patterns. So as active intellectual humans, we're doing a lot more than just finding patterns. So I guess I would say the first 2 points are kind of like this active curiosity, but then even a little bit more than that is the pursuit of higher order, and especially in if you have giftedness, you are it's very very pointed, like it is like one of your core values is to perform higher levels of self integration based on your own understanding. So authenticity is like super high. But of course, we can see authenticity in like quite a range of people. Like I wouldn't say that that's not something that's like neurocomplex. So those are the first two, right? This kind of like above average curiosity. You're not just like falling for like whatever information you happen to come across and like settling for like, well, it is the way it is, like a lot of people do this and just never really like digging into the causes or the trajectories of things, so to speak. And the third one, I don't know how I would put this, but it's a very kind of pointed, being very sensitive to having like particular standards, like having principles, I would say, like moral principles. A lot of people don't actually like their morals or their decision making can change like based on the weather, and it just goes hand in hand with that kind of like it is the way it is, this is how I was feeling that day. And I feel that some more neurocomplex kind of dimension is that you maybe because of the focus on the higher integration, we are constantly more oriented towards having like specific kinds of moral principles, which is not the same as like a kind of like dogmatic set of rules or something like that. It's just a high level of consciousness about like your core values, or even kind of like meta ethics is like a topic that you might care about. And like, what are the stakes? Like, if everybody was to do XYZ, then what, right? And if that leads to bad outcomes, then obviously, like, we're not going to pursue that or promote that or advocate for that. And so I guess I would say this third point is a little bit along the lines of ethics, which of course is not inherently like a neurocomplex concern, of course, but I would say it has to do with the particularity of maybe like particular areas of concern. So, again, this is a little bit hazy, but let me know what you think in your experience. But it definitely seems to be that neurotypical people will, like, their actions, their decisions can like change based on, like, I just wasn't feeling it this day. And even though, like, maybe they promised or agreed or, otherwise made a plan or a pact or anything. So let me know if that like resonates with you in your family. Are you also like the only neurodivergent or neurocomplex person? Do you think it runs more in clusters if we're dealing more with autism or with ADHD? From my experience, from the giftedness experience, I mean, I think maybe my dad was a bit gifted, but I wouldn't say that, otherwise it runs too much in my family. So, but let me know what you think. So, just to summarize once again, I would say that three distinct characteristics. It's not exhaustive, but these are three definite ones. One is above average levels of curiosity, like active curiosity. And the second one is a pursuit of higher order. So digging into like root causes in the larger picture of things. And then the third one, I guess I would call it something like adhering to or pursuing ethical standards, ethical principles, like principles for acting, for living. And again, maybe that one's a bit hazier because I don't think it's necessarily very intrinsically neurocomplex, but definitely there's like a much higher preponderance, I would say. So let me know if this resonates with you. I think it's interesting to think about.